Make sure we're live. Make sure we're live. We're gonna be so live. All right. Yep. Okay, we're live. And Clint Miller's already here, and I love what you're posting. Clint Miller says, it's a Pineys reference. It's too cold to play Peach Pit. Maybe Road in the Pines if you can find the rule book. Yes. Yes, someone's been reading the Pineys, and his name is Clint Miller. Thank you, Clint. Thank you. That's the latest addition to Piney lore. References to Book 13. Hey, welcome to the live stream where we do it live. So welcome. Welcome all. Welcome, Clint. What happened this weekend? Holy cow. Kind of a big weekend for me. Coming off of Halloween, which went all the way to Tuesday, and I was doing events all the way to Tuesday, and then I kind of like collapsed. And then Friday, I had to do an event in Seaside Heights up at a brewery. Clint Miller says, I love that series. Thank you, Clint. And so I did a talk on how to hunt the Jersey Devil at a seaside brewery called Heavy Reel Brewing. And coincidentally, I had a date up that way, so it worked out great. I went and did my event, and then I went on the date, had a good time. And then Saturday, I went to the Author's Picnic at the Moorestown Library. That was a lot of fun. Sold a bunch of stuff there. And then dipped into the second half of an event at the 13th Child Brewery, which I should be back for sometime in December. We're trying to arrange stuff. So I was running around South Jersey, and it was a fun time. Anything else happen? I went out with my family today for dinner now, or lunch. My brother loves to find cool restaurants and take us there. This is awesome. So he discovered this place that had cheesesteaks. Joan would have liked it. Let's get Joan in the shot here. So he wanted to do lunch one day during the week, and I was running around, and I couldn't do it. I got the message late or something. And he sent me a picture of the cheesesteak, and he loved the cheesesteak so much, he wanted the entire family to go. So he said, well, why don't we go on Sunday? And I was like, yeah, I love cheesesteaks. And so my folks were going, and his wife, and my nephew. So he said, here's the place, meet us there. And it happened to be in Moorestown. So I said, great. And then I went to GPS the place, and it said they were closed on Sunday. So he had decided to ride his bike there because he's into bike riding, and to meet us, and then he was going to meet his wife and then take his bike home. JEC is there. Hi. So we get, I call him up. I'm like, I think this restaurant's closed on Sundays. He's like, oh no. So he had to pick another place. The second place he picked was also closed, and so he had to pick a third place. But Sunday, what do you want? Hi, JEC. Good to see you. Some of you in South Jersey area may be watching the Eagles game. I know that's, or is that over? I think it might be over. I don't know. And also, I'm trying out my crock pot tonight. I've had a crock pot for a while, and I've never used it. So if I get a weird smell, I may go running out of the room to go check on it. I'm pretty sure I operated it correctly, but it had a weird smell after I turned it on. But I think that just might be, when they build stuff, there's kind of this chemical industrial smell that's on everything. I mean, I washed it before I put my food in it, but I don't know, I got a weird smell off of it. So if I miss some, insulation or something for the shipping, and it's burning in the other room, I may go run it out of here just to let you know. Clint Miller, Ravens, baby. Oh, Ravens fan. I don't know sports ball, as they say. I don't know nothing about sports. If all organized sports disappeared tomorrow, I wouldn't miss a beat. It'd be men crying in the street, I'm sure, but I'd be like, what's going on? Oh, all organized sports mysteriously disappeared today. I'd be like, oh, that's too bad. Anyhow, um, I just don't follow it. For me, it's politics. That's my sport. I follow that fairly religiously, and then I get mad at the players. And I talk to people about how their stats and whatnot, and then I probably have too much emotionally invested in it, but what are you going to do? It's politics. All right. So let's get in. I don't know how the Ravens are doing. I'm not even sure. They're a football team, right? I think the Ravens are football. Let's get into the box office. Also, one of my favorite sports, to follow the box office to see what's going on. Five Nights at Freddy still tops the box office. Now, this was supposed to be the week Dune 2 was going to come out, which would have changed the metric considerably. I think Dune 2 would have been the top. They didn't release it because they're trying to spread out, I think, their, whatever they had for the strike. Which was smart on one hand, but on the other hand, like, Dune was kind of going to be a big movie. So now to delay it, I don't know. I think this would have been a good week to release it when Five Nights at Freddy was the only thing it was up against. And the Taylor Swift thing, you could argue, but I think that's done too. You can see here, Five Nights at Freddy dropped 76%. Now, it's at 19.4 million, being the tops. That's not, it's not great. Better if it had been half of whatever, what was it last week? I forget, like 80 million? Yeah. Like, it should have went to 40, ideally. So to drop at 20, essentially, not even 20, that's not a very good sign that it has legs. But I think next week probably will only be a small drop off. Like, I think it'll be at most 50% next week. So I think it'll do 10 next week. I don't know what else is coming out next week. Oh, the Marvels. Yeah, it'll be number 2, but I don't think it's going to drop by 76% again. Five Nights at Freddy was a video game. It has a fairly decent fan base, and they did a good job promoting it. They already got a sequel in the pipeline, so I don't think they have anything to be ashamed of. I don't think this movie cost them a lot of money. I mean, you're looking at $217 million worldwide for a horror movie. This movie did not cost a lot of money. No way. If this movie cost more than, I don't know, $40 million, $50 million, I'd be shocked. So this is definitely money. There's no way this thing costs like $200 million. No way. No way. These are the kinds of movies Hollywood should be making. 30 to 50 million. That's a reasonable, budget for a movie, for a wide release movie. It's a reasonable budget. You can do a lot with that money. And Five Nights at Freddy's, it had some effects. I don't think it had that many effects. And now the effects are getting cheaper. Not like cheaper as in bad, although I don't know what the effects were like in this movie. Did anybody see this thing? They look okay-ish, I guess. I don't know. Animatronic robots, they can look kind of crappy anyway. Evil animatronic robots, I don't know. I just don't get it. I don't get the appeal. I didn't grow up with Chuck E. Cheese. I mean, I know Chuck E. Cheese. I always thought it was lame. The closest I've been to horror and animatronic robots, one time at a comic book convention, I got stuck across from the animatronic robots that these guys had. I forget. They weren't like Chuck E. Cheese, but they were, I think they were old Chuck E. Cheese robots that they had repurposed. And it's weird because the setup for it took effing forever. So halfway through the show, they were still setting the damn thing up. And like, in order for the robots to move, they're not actual robots. All they do is they have a set, like, movement. That's it. and part of it is I think air compression. The air moves the arms and stuff like that. But it took them forever to get it put together, and then the movements are coordinated with whatever you record, and it's pretty limited. They can't walk around or anything like that. So I guess that machinery was from a Chuck E. Cheese from like the '90s, and they just put new characters over it. Weird. I don't know why you would go to all that trouble to repurpose that, but I guess I guess it's green. But man, I heard the speech over and over again. I don't even remember it, but man, it was driving me nuts. Just trying to tune it out, trying to sell the Pineys. Every once in a while at a comic book convention, I get stuck next to something like that. It's too loud or too annoying. The all-time worst, though, way worse than that. I got stuck across from a guy who was selling Buffy the Vampire Slayer DVDs along with some other DVDs, but he played the Buffy the Vampire Slayer episode that was a musical all effing day. And let me tell you something, I already hated that episode and not a huge fan of the show. I kind of like some of it, maybe in the beginning, but a musical, none of those actors can sing, in my view. None of them. Actors normally can sing a little bit. They can't sing any better than I can. I can carry a tune, but I'm not a singer. But those guys, they never should have done that. Oh, God, it was awful. The songs are brutal. Everything about the episode is just brutal and dumb and stupid. Hated it. Sorry. But Five Nights at Freddy's, would I see it? Nah, I probably wouldn't see this movie. Just doesn't appeal. It doesn't sound scary at all. Maybe I'd play the game. Maybe they'll re-release the game. I guess there's probably sequels. The funny thing is, it's made by Universal, so I assume they could maybe take one of their haunted houses in the Universal theme park and kind of repurpose it, turn it into a Five Nights at Freddy's thing, right? I mean, seems like it's popular enough. You could probably get at least one ride out of it. That would be kind of cool. I mean, if you know it. I don't know it. So the movie went into more theaters. So I think it's still doing okay, even though it was a huge drop off. The trades are kind of trashing it. Taylor Swift at number 2, 13.5 million. Still doing well. Again, this movie was money in the bank from the moment they announced it. All the Swifties ran out and saw this. I mean, it's 18 million worldwide. It's essentially a 90-minute commercial for her music. I mean, it's a win-win all the way around, except for people who actually like good music. No, I don't know if their music's... I'm just joking. I don't care. I think she's hot. I'd like to date Taylor Swift. Listen to her music. If I was dating her, maybe. Sure, babe. Yeah, you can put on your music. I'd like to have sex to your music. Sure. No, I want you to moan louder, not to drown out the music, because I'm into it. I'm into having sex with you, babe. Maybe. I mean, Travis Kelce's got to listen to it, I guess. But she is cute. I hope she plays Dazzler. I think that would be a fun thing for the Deadpool movie. Killers of a Flower Moon, still hanging in there at 7 million. Drop of 25%. This is not money. 109 million. It's a shame. 3.5 hour movie, man. I just don't know. I don't know if I could ever sit through this thing. That's a long ass movie to sit through. 3.5 hours? Are you S-ing me? Really? That's 2 movies, dude. It's 2 movies. And then Scorsese had the stones to complain that some theaters were jamming in an intermission. Yeah, no kidding, I needed intermission. 3.5 hours. Just need a break. Maybe to collect my thoughts and go, oh, why did I spend $14 on this thing? That's a long movie to sit through. Dances with Wolves is about my limit. I just missed Like, I had to miss like 5 minutes of Dances with Wolves. I couldn't make it through the damn thing drinking a soda. So, is it good? I don't know. I think everybody was looking forward to this. I was talking about it too. It looked cool, but now, like, I don't think Scorsese has lost it or anything, but he's picked a lot of weird stuff. I don't know if he should keep using Robert De Niro. I mean, The Irishman was not great. The Irishman was just not great. Um, you know, Leonardo DiCaprio, yeah, he's a good actor. De Niro, I don't know. I think he's lost something. I think he's lost a step, or he's just, I don't know. He's just too old, gotten full of himself. Recently, he's just, besides his horrible political takes, I mean, he's been sued by his personal assistant. The restaurant he funded in Malibu called Nobu, it's a sushi place, high-end sushi place. That's being sued by some of the former staff. There's like odd stuff going. He just had a kid. He's in his 80s. Him and Al Pacino were in a weird contest. Two 80-year-old guys saying, "Oh, I'm gonna have a kid. Well, I'm gonna have a kid too." So I don't know, man. When I'm in my 80s, am I really gonna want all these problems in my life? You know, when you're in your 80s, don't you want to just like Michael Caine finally retired, right? Guy's in his 90s. He's using a walker, I think. I mean, so okay, now he's retired, but he's in his 90s. What does that even mean at that point? It just means you're just waiting to die. You know, he ain't. Is he gonna go on a trip in his 90s? I don't think so. You know, like, what do you do at that point? You're in your 90s. There's not much you can do. At least in your 80s, if you're mobile, and De Niro can walk around, Pacino looks relatively mobile. You know, maybe you could at least go places. You know? It's like, these guys have millions and millions of dollars. You're going to work all the way up until the very end? It seems almost counterproductive to the millions and millions and millions of dollars you made. You know? But then again, their lives are so cool and awesome. Maybe you think, well, they get to do everything anyway, so why not work too? I don't know. Maybe it's just ego at this point. But, yeah, it's not money, I don't think. I don't think it can be. Priscilla, at number 4, did 5 million. This is its second week, but really it's its first week. They bumped it up to 1,300 more theaters. It was only in 4 last week. So this is its money week. 5.3 million. That's not a lot of money. This is Sofia Coppola. I suspect the movie's boring. I mean, Sofia Coppola, I saw that Bill Murray movie, and it's just awful in my view. I love Bill Murray, and I even love some of the scenes in that, but only for him. Only because it's him. You know, Scarlett Johansson's in it, and even that, like, you know, I didn't even recognize her really. She looks weird in that movie. She doesn't look like her hot self. It's an odd movie. Her pacing is like agonizing, not slow. It's agonizing. I want to see a movie move forward. So I wouldn't see that movie, not even on a bet. I'd have a very bad attitude going in. Number 5 is called Radical. Premieres at 2.7 million. I don't know what this movie is. What the hell is this? Let's go to the IMDb and find out. Is this a biopic? I suspect. A teacher in a Mexican border town full of neglect, corruption, and violence tries a radical new method to unlock students' curiosity and potential, and maybe their genius. Okay. What is that method, I wonder? Is it to be uber political? I don't know. I don't know. Every once in a while, they make a movie like this. It's about a school, and it's terrible. And internationally, it's doing okay at 5.1 million, I guess. 7.8 million worldwide. Probably didn't cost a lot of money. Looks like maybe it's a foreign movie, but that's number 5. It's number 5 in the American box office. A foreign movie hits 5. That's it's not great for you, Hollywood. That a Spanish movie, essentially, only in 419 theaters, is the 5th highest grossing movie on a weekend in the States, and it grossed more overseas. It just goes to show you, nobody's going to the movies here. No one's going. I'm not going. Who the hell can afford it? Who the hell wants to spend all this money? You can wait, see it for nothing on streaming. I just watched, and I was dying to see it at the time, and I kind of forgot about it, and then I saw it, and I was like, oh, I got to watch this movie. The Machine, which was pretty good. Wasn't as good as I thought it would be, but it was pretty good. Still had some really funny scenes in it. It's a Burt. I called him Kreshner, but I think it's Kirscher and Mark Hamill. It's on Netflix if you have it. I think it's worth seeing. I think it was fun. So that movie didn't do too great. Let's see what that did. I don't think it did very well. Sheen, it did 10 million. Yeah. Man, internationally it did nothing. 198,000. I thought it was fun. I mean, 10 million. It should have done a little more than that. It wasn't the greatest movie I ever saw, but it was. You know what? To be honest, it is a rental. It's a high-end rental. It's a low-end theater, drop. But decent for Netflix. Top notch. Netflix doesn't have a lot of great stuff in my view. Number 6, Exorcist Believer, 2.1 million, going out of theaters slowly. This was your woke horror movie, 125 million. That's probably money. I mean, not a lot, but they probably spent a little more money on this movie because it's an Exorcist movie. I think they expected to do better. Ellen Burstyn, I think, is the biggest name in this, so I don't think they spent a lot of money on the cast, but probably spent a little bit of money on CGI, and so probably 50 million. So it's probably money. I don't know. They were slated to do 2 more movies of this, but I think because it didn't do as well as expected, I think they might do another sequel, but they'll cut the budget. That's what they normally do. Back in the old days, like, anybody remember the sequels From Dusk Till Dawn? I think there were like 2 or 3 of them. And like, there's nobody in them you'd remember, I don't think. I think maybe Danny Trejo was in at least one of them. But that was it. And I don't think anybody big was in the others. But, yeah, I mean, it was direct-to-video stuff, they would call it. Now we don't really have direct-to-video, but whatever. So, anyhow, number 7, After Death from Angel Studios, at 2 million. I mean, I'm shocked this thing is making any kind of money, really. I mean, it's essentially, $9 million bucks. It's essentially just that documentary they make every once in a while about, is there life after death? I saw a tunnel. I saw my grandma. I saw nothing. I saw the blackness of the void. Oh, it's terrible. And they just interview a bunch of people and then reenact some of it. I guess people like it because it gives them hope there's something after death, but I mean, it's not like they show you any proof, right? Like, it'd be great if they could show you some proof. Like, here's some footage of the afterlife. You'd be like, wow. But, that can't happen. So, all you get is sort of recreations and, and people's word for it, which Your brain will do a bunch of funky things as you're dying, I'm sure, to try to entertain you on your way out. So, can't wait to see what my brain comes up with. Actually, I can wait. I can wait. Paw Patrol has done 169 million worldwide. It did almost 2 million this weekend. How the hell did this movie do so well? But I don't know. It was animated, so it could have cost a fortune. I hope it's the last one. I don't know. I think the next one would make even less. It seems like it's a law of diminishing returns. I'm smelling something burning now. I might have to go check on that. Doesn't smell like food. I hope I removed all the important things from my crock pot. Number 9, What Happens Later. Did I see this one? Yes, I did a trailer thing on this. This is David Duchovny and Meg Ryan in a movie that Meg Ryan directed. Which, respect, but 1.5 million? It's about 2 people get stuck in an airport. Oh, wait, JC, gotta switch the settings on the chat. Uh-oh. I do? Have it on live chat. Put it on top chat. My choices are top chat, live chat, and fan funding. Are you not coming through? Did you try to type something spicy? YouTube has been cracking down, so I don't know what other settings. Moderation activity, timestamps, participants. What is this? Yeah. See, it shows you there. Is this not working? Okay, that comes up. Live chat, they didn't like my comment about boomers' mortality. I guess not. I mean, it's YouTube. I might have to start doing these on Rumble. YouTube has been not good recently. Carl Benjamin, Sargon of Akkad of the Lotus Eaters, he just recently announced that his live streams are going to be over on Rumble now. Sticks and Hammer has been doing both for a while. I wish I could figure out how to do that. I think I'd have to pay for Rumble to make it work, or maybe if I pay for StreamYard I can make it work, but I'm ready to add another expense to all my internet expenses. Maybe if I cut something, I don't know. But yeah, I might have to think about doing that. I have to look into it, see how much it is. I think it's only like $10 a month, but something like that. But and then maybe I could do both, and then slowly transition everybody over to a Rumble, and have 2 windows up, something like that. I know Styx does it somehow. I wish I could, go and see a little course like I know he's doing it, although he always seems to have trouble too with the technology. So okay, now I'm smelling kind of food but kind of burned rubber. Not hearing anything. Okay, anyhow, I don't know what to tell you, man. These YouTube people are idiots. Might have to go to Rumble. Might have to just start bridging the gap. Do Rumble so people could actually talk YouTube. Friggin' a-holes. I'm just waiting for them to find one of my old videos and cancel me. And then that'll be it. I'm sure I said something, because I just talk. And half the time, I mean, you talk this much on a live stream or just in videos, I can't remember everything I ever said. If I said something, and like YouTube's always changing the parameters anyway, so said something about the pandemic, something about politics, something about mortality of boomers. I don't even know why they would flag that. I guess because they don't like comments about death. The AI considers it violence or something. Frustrating, YouTube. Very frustrating. Anyhow, what happens later, speaking of death, it's like, I like the idea that Meg Ryan directed a movie, but her actual execution, I mean, this it's so boring. Two exes meet in an airport, they get trapped there overnight, and they talk about what might have been. Now, it might have been an okay play, I guess, but as a movie, it just looked boring. Even as a play, it kind of looks boring to me, but I don't know. It's aimed more at women in her defense, because it's about relationships. Oh, what could have been? I could have married that guy, and maybe that something would have happened or whatever. But I mean, clearly the audience has spoken at 1.5 million because it had to cost more than that. Had to. David Duchovny and Meg Ryan had to cost money. It was a cheap movie to make, though. It didn't need to earn a lot, but yeah. Back in her prime, Meg Ryan, I mean, she could have done this. If she had done this off of Harry Met Sally, probably would have been a big hit. Because you would have had all the Harry Met Sally people, saying, ooh, Meg Ryan. Okay, so there was that. Not good. Rick Sanchez is here. Thoughts on Bill Murray? I love Bill Murray. Why? What did he do? Did something happen? Don't tell me something happened to Bill Murray, Rick Sanchez. Or Pickle Rick, as you're known. Is he okay? Did something happen to Bill Murray? Now you have me worried. I better check. Bill Murray. Let's check. News. Is he okay? Actors and directors who hate Bill Murray. He was a drunken bully from Far Out magazine. Well, I know that's a reliable source because it's called Far Out magazine, man. Actor Bill Murray in talks to become owner of Chicago area minor league baseball team. All right. Bill Murray, Mike Veek, reportedly set to purchase Joliet Slammers baseball team. I like Bill Murray. He just wanders around and he, hangs out with people. Rick Sanchez, Meg Ryan was English? She was? Maybe she was. Doesn't sound English. Let's see. Wikipedia is not good for much, but it is good for this. American actress, it says here. She was born and raised in Fairfield, Connecticut. No, she's not English. She was an English teacher, though. I could see her being a teacher. Oh, no, her mother was a former actress and English teacher. And her father was a math teacher. So, no, she wasn't English. Not sure where you heard that. Rick Sanchez. Welcome to the live stream, by the way, Rick Sanchez. All right, moving on. What else we got here? Freelance. I believe I saw this trailer too. Yeah, this is the John Cena. Oh, what's her face? Oh, the hot chick from Community, Allison Brie, and they're both naked in it. Ha ha ha. Yeah, it's supposed to be a fun, light-hearted, romantic romp. I just can't stand John Cena since he apologized to the Chinese. So I'm not seeing it. But worldwide, almost 5 million. That is not money. This looks at minimum. I mean, even if they cut all the corners, I don't think you can make this movie for less than 20 million. They shot it. They shot it on location. Alison Brie and John Cena both command decent salaries. Rick Sanchez says Bill Murray was awful towards Andy McDowell. According to who? Look, Bill Murray also lost his S on Charlie's Angels, but who knows? It could be that, and this is just speculation, that Bill, being Bill Murray, a comedic genius, is promised one kind of script, and then he gets a rewrite or whatever, and it's just not working, and it's not funny, and he kind of knows it, and he tries to change it, and he ends up in an argument with the director or whatever, and then the actresses are sitting on the set going, "Come on, I just want to collect my paycheck and go get my hair done or whatever." So who knows? But yeah, there's rumors. He's been in the business a long time. What does awful really mean? When did he hurt her? Did he yell at her? I'm sure he yelled at people at some point, but he doesn't have that reputation. I subscribed over May, December. Oh, for the trailer reaction I did for May, December. Thank you. I don't know. There was another actress that accused him of that, and then some actress tried to Me Too him on one of his projects that ended up getting canceled. The guy's practically in retirement mode already. You know, I don't think he's really lost a step. If anything, he's gotten better as an actor. You know, I just say leave Bill Murray alone. He seems like the kind of old school hippie that used to be very prominent in Hollywood. But he's like an actual hippie. He just kind of wanders around, throws his money around, doesn't really care. You know, not super political, but like nice. You know, when he sees something, he'll throw some money at it or whatever. And but he doesn't go out of his way to like shout it to the rooftops or anything. And then he's just in movies. I don't know. I always liked him. I always thought he was cool. And you know, all his brothers got in the business too. I've seen interviews with them and him. He doesn't strike me as that kind of guy, you know. Now maybe it's an act. He is an actor. JC. He was a big fan of Ralph Nader. I liked Ralph Nader. He would have been an interesting president, but he has no charisma. He's a charisma black hole, really. He's anti-charisma. But he'd be a guy to definitely bring into your circle if you were the president. I would say that, because he's good at like crunching numbers and figuring stuff out. You'd have to keep him on a short leash, though. He, you know, as president, he probably wouldn't. Looking back on it, I did support him during the Bush years when I think it was Bush was running against Kerry, and I hated Kerry. I didn't like Kerry, so I decided I would help get Ralph Nader on the ballot in New Jersey. You all right, Joan? So I was collecting signatures for Ralph Nader. And so the trick was, the Nader campaign said, stand outside of a movie theater near Fahrenheit 9/11, where that's playing. And you can get a lot of signatures. And that was the strategy. So I did that. And this one guy came up to me. He was a liberal, because he started screaming at me, "You're going to get George Bush reelected." And he got in his car, like he screamed at me like a crazy person. And I kind of like was just taken aback. I didn't even have really a response. I was just sort of stunned he did it, because he kind of came out of nowhere. And then somebody else distracted me and signed the petition. Admittedly, he was clearly a Republican, and he made his girlfriend sign too, which was kind of funny. But I took the sig. Anyhow, as I turned away from him, here comes the liberal in his car right past me, like I think he was trying to intimidate me with his car. It was a little scary because I didn't realize, oh my God, that's the same guy. And he zoomed by me in the parking lot, like a little too close. Rick Sanchez, John. No, this is Joan. Joan, little coffee dog. What's wrong, little Joan? You all right? All right, catch your breath. You okay? You all right? Yeah, that's it. Lick your way out of it. That's what you do. You want to get down? All right, you going to be good? All right. Go check on the crock pot, will you? So, anyhow, that's my Ralph Nader story. But, yeah, I mean, Nader was the one who pushed to get seatbelts in cars. There was some controversy at the time. Some people would complain, oh my God, they don't want a seatbelt in a car accident. If the car catches on fire, you might not be able to unlock it and get out. I think that the chances of that the keeping you alive after the impact outweigh the chances of it getting caught and you can't get out. Clint Miller, give Joan a Ricola. Oh no, she went into the house somewhere. She's mad because we haven't gone for a WALK yet. I hope she's good. Be good, little Joan. She finally got a drink, so I think she's fine. Anyhow. Bill Murray, again, he's just been around a long time. He's bound to have a few. He's been in so many movies. He was bound to have dust up. Gina Davis, that's who got mad at him. She had a big thing. Oh, Bill Murray was a jerk to me. I mean, anyone who's ever been in the business kind of knows that actors are egomaniacs. Directors are egomaniacs. Producers are money-grubbing people. And everybody else is just trying to steal the money before the production collapses. It's kind of the way it goes. And a lot of stuff happens. People end up having sex with each other, and because there's beautiful actresses on the set and everybody's trying to get with them. It's a ridiculous situation, and it's all temporary. And people know that too, so that's part of it, because it's like, I'll never see this person again. Let me see if she'll go out with me. And like, this is what happens on movie sets. People are human, and these things happen. Do bad things happen? Oh my God, absolutely. But, you know, I knew a guy, I can't say who he is at all, so I'm going to be very careful here. But I'll just say I worked on a movie, and I saw a guy cheat on his wife. And it was not a pleasant experience, because he put me in a very uncomfortable position, because I also knew his wife, kinda. And it was likely I might run into her during the course of working on a movie, and that was going to be a nightmare if she confronted me and said, do you know what my husband did? Which could totally happen. So, when you start cheating on a spouse, man, you're opening up the door to death. I had a friend, I'll call him. He was regularly banging this guy's wife, and I kept telling him, dude, you have to stop. He's like, why? You know, and he had some elaborate reason why it was fine. And I was just like, because one day you're going to be lying in bed with her, banging away, and you're just going to hear click, and that's the last thing you're going to hear. It's just going to be lights out for both of you. Now, it didn't happen. He ended up breaking up with her or whatever eventually and moving on. But for a while, dude, I was like, dude. And he was blatant about it too. It wasn't like one of these secret things. It was like pretty blatant. And, you know, people snap. You can't mess it in people's marriages. Rick Sanchez. Steal all the money until the budget dries up. Yep, that's pretty much how it works. And, you know, as the writer of movies, fortunately, I usually am not in that mix. I've usually already gotten paid, because that's the only way the whole thing starts. But still, though, when you show up on set or whatever and people are doing that, and it's just, I worked on another movie where they were like, they were trying to use the movie to get food, basically, for craft services. They didn't really have a budget for craft services, so they would go to local businesses and say, hey, do you want to be mentioned in a movie? Give us some pizzas and sodas and we'll mention you in the movie. And it does work. I mean, businesses will donate that. They can write it off, I guess. And the movie gets free food for the actors. Low budget movies do that. Big budget movies, they have to have food. But, so, yeah, I mean, it's all sorts of grifts. But depending on if the movie's got a bit of a budget and there are departments, there's usually some amount of buffer money, a couple of $100,000 just sort of sitting there, and the various departments are sort of eyeing it up, going, ooh, when can I start asking for more of this? And hopefully you get good people working on the movie that can care more about the movie than the money. But if the movie sucks, and this is why you shouldn't make a movie that sucks, if you have a terrible script, everybody kind of knows it, and that's when they stop caring about the movie. Rick Sanchez, what do you think about Justin Roiland being replaced on Rick and Morty? I don't think it's right because he hasn't been convicted of anything. So he should not be replaced. Now, that being said, it does sound like he's possibly done some sketchy stuff, but doing sketchy stuff is not the same as breaking the law. It may be, he may have done some unethical things, but again, if you've been in the business, I mean, there's a lot of people doing unethical things in the business. It's just that he got caught and he was very high profile. Now, most of his troubles are of his own making, I think. But from a legal standpoint, I can't believe he's not suing everybody. I can't believe he's not suing the show. The only thing I can think of why he's not suing the show is they're still paying him. Like, he can't do the voice anymore, but he's still getting money and he doesn't care. Rick Sanchez, what movie or work would I know you for? Know you for? Know you for? His stupid heart is always in the way. Can't read that other word. Drives me nuts. What movie or work would I know you for? We all done sketchy stuff. F you? He's saying F you to me? You wouldn't probably know any of my movies. Because I've only worked on low budget stuff that never went anywhere. The most popular thing I worked on I wrote jokes for Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher, and I worked on Space Ghost Coast to Coast after it had left Adult Swim, and they licensed it for the Game Tap website, and it was actually the original cast and everything. So they were other episodes, they were legit episodes, and produced. They spent a lot of money on them too. Those are probably the two biggest things. I've had a few screenplays produced, but you wouldn't know the movies. You can look me up on the IMDb, but and the Simpsons comics. Those are like my three biggest credits: the Simpsons comics, Space Ghost Coast to Coast, and Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher. And if you count it, the Comedy Central website, I wrote for that too. But I don't really care about those credits, although they helped me over the years. So that's all it's about. Rick Sanchez, I also write jokes. Oh, cool. Give me a joke, Rick. No, I'm not putting you on the spot. But if you want to put one up, I'll read it. All right. Where did we leave off? Number 11, Saw X. 1.1 million? Still making money. I don't think it made money overall, though. 94 million? Maybe. Again, it's a horror movie, but I think they spent a little bit of money on it this time. The re-release of The Nightmare Before Christmas almost made $1 million. Again, I don't know why Disney just doesn't do more of this. Seems to me that they're in a bad way and they've been through a strike. Why not re-release all your classics again like you do? People like to go see them on the screen. I would go see them. If it was one I really wanted to see. Which one would I want to see? The Jungle Book, maybe. I like that one. The Robin Hood movie. Oh, that's a classic. Their Robin Hood. I love that one. Rick Sanchez. There's a lag of about 40 seconds. I know. There's nothing really I could do about that. It's so YouTube can do their censorship, I suppose. The Creator. $657,000. Yeah, this movie died. 98 million. I think they were expecting big things from this movie. Just didn't happen. Just didn't happen. Anatomy of a Fall, $600,000. They bumped it up into more theaters. I kind of want to see this movie. It feels like a Netflix, though, thing. It's a foreign movie about a murder. 3.1 million worldwide. The Holdovers. They bumped it up into more theaters. This is a movie with Paul Giamatti. It hasn't even cracked a mill. It takes place in the 70s, and it's about a college professor who gets stuck on campus watching the college students who are stuck there over Christmas break. Perp Minded. I'm getting all kinds of new people tonight. What Happens Later was a very solid rom-com. Oh. So you saw it. Okay. I don't know. It looked boring to me. I mean, the whole thing takes place in an airport. I don't know. Seems boring if it's just going to be in one location for most of the movie, but welcome to the live stream, Perp Minded. The Holdovers, though, does look like a good movie, but it looks like it would have been good 20 years ago, or like in the 90s, 30 years ago, more like. It would have been nostalgic if they had made it in the 90s because there were still people around from the 70s. Now it's 50 years later. I mean, I'm kind of around from the 70s, but I wasn't in college then. I was a little kid. So the people who would have been in college, God, they're in their 70s. I mean, you can't make movies aimed at people from their, in their 70s. It's just too long of a period of time. I mean, I like the music in it. I'll probably see this movie on a rental, and I'd probably go see it in the theaters if it was around and I had $14 burning a hole in my pocket. Movies are just too expensive. That's another problem too, but it just seems like Hollywood can't find the zeitgeist anymore. They just can't find it. They're still doing this. Like 30 years ago, this would have been a viable thing. Would have been 100% viable. And they're still making the same kinds of movies. But, that I think partly is the result of just the corporate atmosphere of the studios. They're just corporate. And they go back to the same formulas, but not the really good ones. Like, they find some formulas that are okay, but like, this movie isn't doing well, so I don't think they're going to go back to it again for something like this, but maybe over Christmas it'll do okay. I guess it's kind of an art house movie, but it doesn't feel like an art house movie. It feels like a movie they would have released in the 90s. Oppenheimer's still hanging around. Huh. Barbie wasn't on the list, but Oppenheimer is. $500,000. Interesting that Oppenheimer still stays in the picture. Still at 945 million. Not gonna crack a billion, sadly. Oh, here we go. Perp Minded. AMC, a list of the best option if you're trying to save money. 12 movies a month for 26, 27 bucks is a steal. That's not bad at all. So, what do you have to pay that up front, or was it like a club deal? That is not bad at all. I have an AMC card somewhere, but I don't know if I could find 12 movies in a year. I would say on the big screen. I don't know. To some of it's just laziness, but you know. Perp Minded monthly subscription. Well, that's a smart move. I think that's a good idea for movie theaters, but I think they're a little late doing it. I mean, like, this list of movies, how many of these would I want to see? Maybe Freddy's. The Holdovers, maybe. Oppenheimer and The Equalizer. That's about it. And they're all maybes. Like, they're not as strong. Like, I definitely wanted to see The Machine. I still want to see Jennifer Lawrence naked in that No Hard Feelings movie. And that's on Netflix, too. So I'm psyched to see that. And Old Dads with Bill Burr. But that's not even in theaters. That's just on Netflix. And Netflix I'm getting for nothing. So it's like, it's a choice between nothing and seeing whatever whenever it drops on Netflix, or paying AMC and hoping something rotates into the mix that I want to see on the big screen, and then driving all the way over there. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it'll be worth it for me, but think about it for next year. Maybe that could be I'll put that on my Santa's Christmas list. Gran Turismo, still in theaters. They put it in more theaters. Why did they re-release this thing? They put it in 1,300. It was just about to go out. Now it's in 1,300 theaters again. Why? Perp Minded. I'll watch anything horror. Ha ha ha. The horror genre has been going very strong. Pretty good. There's always a horror movie out. You gotta watch like Shudder and Dread and what's that short film one? Kings of Horror is another one, but there's a short film one. I think it's called Altar. There's so many on YouTube, and they're pretty good premises, at least. A Haunting in Venice, $200,000. Why bother? This movie just didn't connect. Equalizer 3, $131,000, finally going out. This movie make money? I don't think it did. $185,000, probably not. Same thing with Haunting in Venice. Yeah, $110,000. This movie was expensive to make. Had to be. There were a lot of big names in it. It's a period piece. I don't know. The Tunnel to Summer, The Exit of Goodbyes. What the F is this? No idea. It looks like an anime thing. The Tunnel to Summer, The Exit of Goodbyes. It only made $823,752 worldwide. Terrifier 2 re-release was great, especially getting to see that Terrifier 3 teaser early, and getting the poster for that was a treat. Oh yeah, Terrifier 3. The Terrifier franchise seems to be doing well. It looks a little too gory for me, but I like the look of the clown, the evil clown. Stop Making Sense still in theaters? Jesus. It's not making any money. I don't know why they keep leaving it in theaters. Okay, it made $5.6 million. And this week it made another $31,000. I mean, the Talking Heads aren't even together anymore. I don't think. Maybe they're getting back together. Who knows? Hocus Pocus re-release. Yeah, they should re-release this movie every holiday or every Halloween. 50 million. I think that's numbers from the beginning, though. Dix the musical. Ugh, thank God this movie died. It's going out of theaters. Good. It just looked awful. 1.3 million. Probably not money. JC, why is it still in theaters? It's called Stop Making Sense. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. All Dirt Roads Taste of Salt. That sounds like an indie movie. Looks like an indie movie. $12,000. It's only in 3 theaters, though. Subject. It's in 2 theaters. No idea. Very indie-looking movie. And At the Gates. Another movie. It's in 1 theater. At the Gates. I think I saw the trailer for this. I think this is about the... It's about like 2 girls, and one of them is... one of them's messed up, and the other one tries to help her, and I forget. It's an indie movie. I think it's a foreign movie too. Common Ground, and then The Mission. The Mission made $1,540. Why even put it on the list? The box office this week, $61 million. $61 million. Last week, it was $125 million. Whoop, 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 whoop. That's the box office these days. Up and down, up and down. That is a 50% drop of the entire box office. And, I don't know how it is around you, but it got cold, so maybe that had something to do with it. Maybe the cold weather chased people off. But then again, what are you going to do when it gets cold, right? You're going to do something inside. Movie theaters inside. So, I don't know. I like going to the movies in winter. But I think, again, movie theaters, the experience is so god-awful. In the winter, they should change the snacks up. Perp-minded, I hope Thanksgiving and Godzilla -1 does well this month. I don't know. Thanksgiving, I don't know. A horror movie at Thanksgiving, it's not what I want to see. Godzilla -1, I think that'll do okay. I hear good things about it. The buzz is good. But Thanksgiving, I don't know, man. There's never any good buzz for horror movies until they start doing well. Then there's good buzz, right? Because, with other movies, like, I think it's more self-evident that they're good. Whereas in horror movies, they're kind of like comedies. Like, you don't know until they hit how people are going to react. It's a weird thing like that. Like a really good drama or a really good Western or a really good Godzilla movie or something like that, you kind of know just seeing it, oh yeah, people are going to love this. But with a horror movie, it's kind of weird. And a comedy too. It's like, you could see something, like I just watched The Machine and I thought, this is pretty decent. I didn't think it was the greatest, funniest movie ever, but it got a little long towards the end of the second act, but I thought, why didn't more people go see this? I guess it's more subjective. Perp-minded. A Christmas Story gets released in theaters next month. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing it in a big screen. It's my favorite Christmas movie. Oh, you should see the sequel. The sequel is really good, too. Surprisingly good. Made with the original cast, or a lot of the original cast. And, yeah. the sequel, the most recent sequel. They made other sequels to the movie that didn't do very well, but the most recent sequel, highly recommend. If you're a fan of a Christmas Story, you should definitely see the sequel if you haven't. So, Rick Sanchez, are you aware of what November 5th is in England? Ever see V for Vendetta or 1984? Yes, yes, and yes. The 5th of November is when Guy Fawkes, I think he attempted to blow up the Parliament, right? I don't think he was successful. They caught him. Perp, Minded, yeah, like the real sequel. V for Vendetta, of course, the character V was wearing the Guy Fawkes mask. 1984 is, about our dystopian future. Perp Minded, I like the real sequel. You mean the real sequel, meaning the first sequel that they did to Christmas Story? I think it was called, I don't know, they did kind of a lot of them, I remember. Let's see. Okay, there's A Christmas Story. Yeah, so the original one's in 1983, and then last year they did A Christmas Story Christmas. Perp Minded, nah, the one on Max, LOL. That's A Christmas Story Christmas, the one from 2002. They didn't list it here. Oh, God. But there were a bunch of sequels. There was like A Summer Story, because they're based on this essay. The original one is. That's why it's so homey and nice. God, I can't think. I want to say there was a famous guy. He was famous for his essays, I think, and that's what it was based on. So they tried to do A Summer Story with the same characters, but I think they recast everybody. And then I think they did a reboot or a remake, and that didn't do well. But yeah, the one on Max, I believe it's that one. It's really good. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's November 5th. Are bad things going to happen today? Is that what you're telling me, Rick Sanchez? I mean, they're supposedly, I mean, it's the dumbest day to do something, right? Because it's the one day the authorities might actually be ready for you. Because they'll be like, oh, it's November 5th. We better put out some extra guys. Stay alert. Normally, I mean, you just wait till tomorrow. They're gonna be like, oh, okay. November 5th went well. It looks like we dodged another bullet. Why don't you guys take a day off? And then November 6th comes and you know, if you're going to do something crazy. If you're smart. But, yeah, I mean, I don't think anything's going to happen. I mean, I think it kind of already did happen this weekend. I don't know how much I could talk about it, but there was a very big protest in D.C., and it seemed to me to look like an insurrection. But other people didn't see it that way. And it was mostly ignored in the press. So, go figure. I don't think anything's going to happen. I mean, the day's just about over. You know, it's 8 o'clock. Another 4 hours, it'll be, you know, done. Rick Sanchez, will Gilmore Girls ever get rewritten from the point of view of Luke as the offender? I have no idea. Why would you rewrite Gilmore Girls at all? Don't know why you would rewrite that show. That's a show that is probably 100% for women. It's just yummy, 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 yummy. Um, Never got into that. I've known uh, women that were really into that show. Rick Sanchez, Heather. Um, Not sure what that is. That in reference to Gilgar? Is that one of the Gilmore Girls? Heather. When you say Heather, I think of Heather Thomas or Heather Locklear. Ah, from the 80s. 80s Heather Locklear or 80s Heather Thomas. Fantastic. They're coming out with The Fall Guy. For those of you, I know you youngins probably don't remember The Fall Guy. But back in the 80s, when we watched TV, when it was watchable, Lee Majors, the $6 Million Man, starred as the Fall Guy, a stuntman who also was a bounty hunter. And Heather Thomas was the hot bikini babe in that. And I don't remember the rest of the show because all I remember is Lee Majors doing stunts and Heather Thomas looking smoking. And it was a great show. Had a great theme song. Look that up. And now they're doing a movie version with Ryan Gosling, which at first you're like, oh no, but Lee Major. Oh, Rick Sanchez says Heathers. Ah, you're talking about Heathers. What about Heathers? That's pretty good, I guess. I don't know. Not my kind of movie. I have I even seen Heathers? I know I've seen scenes from it. I don't know if I've ever watched it. It's one of those movies that's been on TV a bunch of times, so kind of don't know. But so Ryan Gosling is making the Fall Guy movie as the main character, the Fall Guy. But Lee Majors is in it, which kudos to the filmmakers for putting Lee in it. I think they should make Ryan Gosling like his son or his grandson. I think that would be cool, but I'm not sure if they're doing that. Rick Sanchez, are you excited for the Goonies reboot? No, because they'll probably screw it up. Probably make half the Goonies girls, and the lead will be a girl, and there'll be representation probably. I don't know. We'll see. I can't think of any kid actors currently in the mix that anybody's really excited by in terms of their performing abilities. So I don't know. There's just too many reboots going on. There's just too much of that. They really need to stop. But this is the institutional momentum of Hollywood, right? They've been rebooting everything in a desperate hope to recapture something. And, they wouldn't do this. Years ago, sequels, good luck. You'd have these big hit movies that would end in such a way that you could totally see a sequel and the studio would go, no, we don't do sequels. What are you, crazy? It's not going to make as much money. We'd rather do something else. Now it's the complete opposite. It's like you do a movie and there's no way you could have a sequel, but it's a hit and the studio goes, oh, we got to do a sequel. We got to do 2 more movies of this. Why? Well, because it's a hit and we got to, try to get some more money out of it. So now everything's a franchise. It go one way or the other. So no on reboots. I don't like reboots in general. What they could do, what I would do with a Goonies IP is, instead of doing a reboot, you do a sequel with a you'd have some of the older cast members possibly as the parents of the new Goonies, or just doing cameos, and then you just do another Goonies type adventure, right? You just do it again, but you do something in that vein. You don't reboot the movie. You're just remaking it. It's not going to be as good. It's never going to hit. Like, these movies hit for reasons. When a movie hits, it hits because it connects with people and they like it. So when you go back to the IP and say, oh, we're going to do it again because it's going to hit again, it's never going to hit again. What you're banking on is that the nostalgia will drag people out and they'll say, oh, I'll see the old classic and I'll bring my kids and it'll be great, but it won't be, because it'll be romanticized in your brain and it'll probably suck. So I would rather see a another Goonies movie, but like with a completely new cast, and you could make them diverse if you had to, but if you did it more as a sequel, I think people would be into it. I think people would be into it. But they're not going to do it. They're going to do a reboot, and they're going to do the truffle shuffle again, and then everybody will complain about that because it's fat shaming, or they'll get, I don't know. It's stupid. It's stupid to redo it. It was a moment in time. You captured it. It was a 1,000,000 to 1 chance that you would have gotten something that was a cult classic. And now you're going to try to do it again. It's not going to work. It's never going to work. The best you can hope for is like Ghostbusters Afterlife, right? It was not embarrassing, kind of a hit, and you can kind of keep doing more. That's about the best you can hope for. And even that is really stretching it. Rick Sanchez, imagine if for the rest of your life Harold Faltermeyer done a live sound over whatever you did. Hold on. Harold Faltermeyer. German musician, composer, and record producer. Best known for composing Axel F, the theme for the Beverly Hills Cop. Okay. That would be fun. I think that would be fun. It would be like the episode of Family Guy when Peter asked the genie for his own soundtrack, and it follows him everywhere. But like people get annoyed with it, and he can't stop it. And eventually, a guy tries to beat him up, and he said the guy's going to beat him up. Says, "I'm going to break every bone in your body," and Peter just reactively says, "I wish I had no bones." And he turns into a blob. It's a pretty gross episode, actually, but it's kind of funny. All right, let's get into the trades. Freddy's fends off Meg Ryan. Was that even a competition? I mean, come on. What happens later ended up 9th. Freddy's at number 1. I don't think that movie was sweating Meg Ryan's movie. What comes after Marvel? Better hope it's not something worse. Well, that sounds like a threat, Hollywood. That sounds like a threat. At this point, I don't think there could be anything worse, but you never know. Marvel is really just screwing the pooch, in my view. Oh, Russell Brand accused of sexual assault on Arthur movie set in new lawsuit, so they're still going after him. I think they're just going after him. SAG-AFTRA needs more time. SAG-AFTRA told the studio heads on Saturday the union needs more time to analyze and discuss the studio's last best final offer before delivering a response. I think these guys are going to the studios they're going to drag it out to the end of the year. It's like, I think because the end of the year is the end of the quarter, right? So I don't know. They've slashed their budget because what are they spending it on? They can't go into production for anything. Now they probably have some scripts being written for when they do go back into production now that the writer's strike has been settled, but it doesn't make any sense. People are checked out now. It's not even Thanksgiving yet, and people are already checked out for Christmas. I can see it already. Everything's at like I call around to try to get my my events going for the Pineys, and let me tell you, getting somebody on the phone is next to impossible now. It seems like the holiday gets longer and longer every year. You can forget about it after when Thanksgiving hits. It's over. It's over until January. Good luck getting anybody on the phone, getting anything done. Nobody wants to do anything. No one. Drives me nuts every year. But so I think they're gonna drag their feet all the way to January, and then January will come around, and then they'll cut a deal. Brian Cox jumped at starring in 007 Road to a Million. I've always wanted to play a Bond villain. Yeah, this is it's not a game show. It's like a reality show based on James Bond. It's weird. Rick Sanchez. I'll name a title. You fill in the script. Gaza. Schindler never made such a short list? What are you talking about? You're going to get me in trouble, Rick Sanchez. I expected nothing less. I'll name the title. You fill in the script. Gaza. Schindler never made such a short list. Not sure what you're talking about. I assume you're making some reference to the recent conflict. I probably can't talk about that on YouTube. Are you trying to get me booted? Warner Brothers Discovery Taiwan Mobile, TAICCA, signed production distribution deal. Well, somebody's doing. Oh, Storebang's here. Storebang, that was dirty, Sanchez. Ha! Nice one. There's your joke. Storebang's writing jokes. He can write a joke. Danny DeVito says he and Arnold Schwarzenegger missed out on making Twins sequel. He should have done Twins 2 instead of becoming governor. Yeah, he wasn't that great of a governor, quite frankly, for California. I mean, look at it now. Probably pointless. But Schwarzenegger did want to become president. And there was talk of changing the laws for him. Just for him. Just so he could run. I think he really wanted to do it. I don't think he could have gotten elected, though. He wasn't that great of a governor for California. He was a Republican, but he was like a Romney Republican. So thank God he didn't get elected president. Mr. F your freedom. So, all right, moving on to Bounding in the Comics. Echo EP Sidney Freeland touts representation. Was extremely important. To series reveals character's background and powers completely changed. Oh boy. Bet you can't wait for your favorite comic book character, Echo, to be in a TV show and completely not recognize her powers or what the hell she does. So I looked up on Wikipedia what her powers are because I never read an Echo comic in my life, but so her powers are basically that of the Taskmaster, kind of. It's basically the Taskmaster. If she's deaf, but if she sees you do something long enough, she can repeat it. That's her superpower. And now she's an expert at a bunch of different things because she watched the best do it. And what it should be, to make it more interesting, it should be the last person she saw do something. That's when, that's her ability. So she's the master against other masters, but against dumbasses, she's also a dumbass. So she's always evenly matched. That would be more fun. But this Echo trailer I saw, I mean, it looked pretty good for what it was. It looked way too bloody to be a Disney Plus show. Vincent D'Onofrio lifts it up, but I don't think it could be any good. But that's just me. Here's a character. It's basically a female Daredevil. I think they're just trying to replace Daredevil at this point. But who the hell cares? Who the hell cares about a character like Echo? No, she has no real fan base. Daredevil has a fan base going back decades and decades. Echo? Nobody knows who the hell Echo. The normies barely know who Daredevil is. Rick Sanchez, Governor Schwarzenegger made it so no antibiotics are allowed in your milk. He cleaned up all the milk. I guess. Good? I don't know. he didn't seem to do well with the unions out there. He fought with the unions, and I think they ended up going on strike. He had some problems, but then again, he was a Republican, so who knows? Who knows? I'm not smelling my food anymore. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Um, Fortunately, it's a crock pot, so if I screwed it up, it'll be very slowly ruined. JEC, screw your freedom. And suddenly, Tony did the entire rest of the live stream as Arnold Schwarzenegger. Sean Gunn Murphy reveals main character for his upcoming Zorro comic is lesbian. He says he's 90% aligned with Heather Antos. How annoying would that be? Yeah, so these people are obsessed with representation and all this stuff in comics and in movies and TV shows. Here's the bizarre thing, right? 99% of the people who push this stuff are white women or feminist men who are also white. So if they actually wanted, I would ask them, the first question I would ask anybody if I was confronted by one of these people would be like, do you think representation is important? And they'd be like, yes, of course it's important. It's important for all these people to see themselves and blah, 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 blah. And then I would say, so you think, lesbian people watch lesbian shows, and then black people watch black shows, and on, and they'd be like, yes, of course they do, of course. So you're a white, progressive woman. Do you watch only shows written by white progressive women about white progressive women? And then they'd be like, well, no, of course not. I watch this and that, and the lesbians and the Echo and all this, the indigenous people, and blah, 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 blah. And then it'd be like, well, so representation doesn't work for you, but you assume it works for all these other people. That's why they're all a bunch of racists, is what it boils down to, unfortunately. They're the kind of racism. They have racism, but it's not like overt. Like the skinheads, they're overt. You ask them a question, whoa, and you blow the hair off the back of your head because they're so racist. But you ask one of these woke tards about racism, they have this elaborate mental gymnastics, and when you really look at it, you're like, oh, you think black people should watch black shows, you think indigenous people should watch indigenous shows, and you think gay people should watch gay shows, and everybody should watch kind of their own show because that's the only way they could possibly relate to it. And that's just not true. It's just racism. And all it leads to are terrible shows because these people substitute representation for everything that should be in the show. A plot, a characterization, good writing, good dialogue. Like, all that is skipped because, but we got representation. I mean, it was just like the all-time greatest show for this was the Batwoman show. It's the worst show probably ever made. It started horrible and just went downhill from there. And it was so horrible out the gate, you wonder how they could have achieved that. That in itself was some sort of achievement. The show was so bad, the lead of the show quit. Like, you're an actor or an actress, you finally get a lead in the show and you just quit. That's how bad the show was. And it just went downhill from there. And they just kept jamming more and more representation in it until they destroyed it. And it took a while to destroy. I was surprised how long it took them to destroy it. These people, I mean, it's like every headline in Abounding in the Comics. Here's Ahsoka. Final viewership clocks in worse than Andor that was chasing the audience. Yeah. And for Disney, the problem is, and this is my theory, they haven't just burned Marvel and Star Wars. They burned Disney. Disney is burned. Because when you do this many terrible shows, There's no way people are ever going to trust you with their entertainment dollars again. They're just not going to trust you. Who the hell wants Disney Plus? Once you cancel Disney Plus in absolute disgust because there's nothing on and you've been wasting your money for months and you forgot about it, you're never going back to it, ever. You're going to look at the end of the year, your finances, oh my God, we're so broke, we're spending so much money on food. And then you ask your kids, are you guys still watching Disney Plus? And they look at you like you're crazy. You're going to cancel that and you're never going back. Ever. Rick Sanchez. I'm in the UK, but I appreciate the sitcom community. Yeah, it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. Some of it was a little off, but Clint Miller, who burned Tolkien? Lord of the Rings creator J.R.R. Tolkien's life is to be adapted into a graphic novel biography, Tolkien Lighting Up the Darkness. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to burn him in this adaptation, but I guess it's possible. This is a blaze. Rick Sanchez. Disney made 3 flops in a row. Oh, the 4th one's coming, I think, next week. The Marvels. That's going to be the biggest one. That one is going to be huge. Huge. That has no chance of making money, in my view. 0 chance. I mean, you've got Captain Marvel. Never should have had her own film. Never should have been Carol Danvers. Should have been the original one. Or, if you had to do representation, you could have started with Monica Rambeau. You could have started with that Captain Marvel because she was legit Captain Marvel in the 80s. I remember her. I remember reading her comic. Now, she wasn't all that popular, but she was in the mix. So you would have a little bit of comic cred going in. If you had done that with Monica Rambeau for the first Captain Marvel movie, first off, you wouldn't have Brie Larson. Like, why'd you even bother to cast Brie Larson? You're so woke, Hollywood. You cast the blonde, blue-eyed, hot blonde chick as your lead. You're so woke and you're so constantly looking for diversity. There was your diversity on a platter. You could have went right to Monica Rambeau, right out the gate, given her $1 billion movie, and you could have touted it all day long. You could have said, look, we have a strong, empowered woman of color. Now and Brie Larson, she just burned the fans. I mean, she was the first Rachel Zegler. Between her and Rachel Zegler, I mean, at least the woman who's playing Monica Rambeau, I don't think she said too much, or no one pays attention to her. I don't know. Rick Sanchez, imagine how much cash they would have made. They just stuck to White Mermaid with red hair. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Or, I mean, they wanted Haley, what's-her-face, Bailey or whatever the hell her name is. If they just said, okay, we can't do Ariel, but we'll do Ariel's cousin or Ariel's friend. There were other mermaids in the cartoons. You could have just picked the name of one of the black mermaids and said, okay, we're going to do a movie about her. Oh, no one's ever heard of her. We'll just do a bunch of new songs, or we'll do some of the old songs. Who the F cares? You just would have redone it and it would have been great. 10 minutes I could have had a pitch for you, Disney. 10 minutes. Literally minutes. I could have said, okay, we'll have a black mermaid, and she lives this time off the coast of Africa. She falls in love with an African prince, an entire black cast, and here you go. And they would have been like, oh, okay. And just write a bunch of songs. Yeah, here's a few songs. And Fire Aquafina. Oh, okay, we could do that. Clint Miller, Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. That was the series that ruined Tolkien. Well, I think it ruined more Amazon than it ruined Tolkien. I don't think Tolkien's ruined. I mean, it's just, the series is an absolute abomination, in my view. I watched I think I watched both episodes. It's so boring. That's its greatest crime. The boredom of Rings of Power. It's so boring. So boring. And Amazon is capable of doing a decent show. Reacher is great. The first season of Reacher, one of the best things you'll ever see. Watch it. Highly recommend on Prime. And the second season's coming out soon. I can't wait. Rings of Power, ugh, an abomination. Utter abomination. Boring, stupid. $1 billion, where is it? Where's that $1 billion? You people, again, 10 minutes. Give me 10 minutes in a meeting and I would have pitched you something perfectly usable. Oh, you want all woke crap in it? Okay. You want female leads and people of color? Okay. And you still could have made it work in Tolkien's world. Even though it wouldn't have been great, it would have made sense. You compartmentalize it away from Lord of the Rings. Oh, but that's what everybody likes. Yeah, but you're not putting that in the show. You don't have Gandalf. You have dime store Gandalf. You don't have hobbits. You have some other made-up hobbits. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. So, just give them fantasy stuff. Oh, but we got to have a black elf. Elf is the race, morons. Rick Sanchez. Melissa McCarthy as Ursula. That's why casting directors get paid. Well, she's not a bad choice. I mean, she's a heavy-set woman. But, yeah, I mean, you could have just brought back another Ursula. Or just, I don't know. Did Ursula die in the first movie? I didn't see it. Maybe she survived somehow. Rick Sanchez. Elliot Page as the new Flash. Yeah, I'd pitch that. But it's too late now. I mean, it's over. The only reason I pitched it was because you had this guy, what's his face? I forget his name now. Talked about him for months. Now I don't even remember the guy's name. The guy who was the Flash. I forget his name. But he claimed he was non-binary and trans, all these things. He was giving you all sorts of problems. You needed to replace him without, and they were still worried about the woke at Warner Brothers for reasons I can't fathom. So if you can't convince your executives, ignore these woke idiots, then you go the other way. Say, okay, let's do a chess move. Let's get rid of this guy who's been arrested and causing us all sorts of problems, and we'll replace him with a trans woman, or trans man. Elliot Page. Yeah, it would have been it's the same thing with Aquaman. You could have deep-faked Amber Heard right out of the movie with Emilia Clarke or whoever. Just get some hot actress. Take her face right out of there, Amber Heard. Put another hot face on the body. You pay both of them. You change the voice, or the AI does it. Boom. You're good to go. Now Amber Heard's not in the movie. Yeah, she's on the credits. Ezra Miller. That's the guy. Clint Miller. Ezra Miller was the woke Flash. Yep. I'm telling you, if you replaced him with Elliot Page just for one movie, and then at the end of the movie he dies or whatever. Rick Sanchez. Daniel Radcliffe as the new Wolverine. I don't think it's happening. He's discounted those rumors. He wouldn't be a bad choice. He's an okay actor. He's a bit woke, though. I don't like how he threw J.K. Rowling under the bus. I don't like how any of these guys threw J.K. under the bus, quite frankly. I think the one guy who didn't was the blonde kid from Slytherin. What's his face? I think he has different politics, but the other ones seem to be like, screw you, J.K. Rowling, who gave us a career and millions of dollars. Rick Sanchez, Ezra is a liability. Exactly. He partially damaged that movie. Now, it was also damaged from a lot of other things, but definitely Ezra Miller was a huge part of that, I think. You get rid of him, then you would have given me permission to go see the movie, because I would have been like, even if Ezra shows up in the credits and you had to deepfake his body still in it, but his face is gone, that would have been acceptable, because at least it would have been the studio saying, listen, we can't get rid of this guy without losing hundreds of millions of dollars, but we got rid of him as best we could. Fans would have been like, okay. I mean, you're still paying him. You can't get out of the contract, but okay. And I think they could have gotten out of the contract. They have all sorts of behavioral things in the contract. I'm sure they could have gotten him on that, but they would have taken him. It would have been a mess. It would have been a court thing. Kite is here. Hey, Kite. Sorry I'm late, but I hope you had a great stream so far, Tony. I have. We've talked about the box office, talked about all sorts of things. We got some new people in here. Rick Sanchez and Perp Minded. So, some new people. This was a big story this week. HBO and Max boss Casey Bloys attempted to dunk on Marvel TV programming in order to highlight DC, but makes no sense. And wasn't this the same guy who... I think it was the same guy who admitted there was an army of trolls behind the scenes attacking people. Oh my God, and another new person. Malik Lockhart. I think you've been here before. Do you think there shouldn't be any representation or inclusion in Hollywood, or how do you think it should be handled? First off, if you write a story, you write a story based on the best story. So I have a pitch for, and I'll just tell you the pitch because I don't think I'll ever do it. But the pitch was called Avenging Angie, and the pitch was a trans vigilante. And the premise is, it was this guy who went in the army, he got all kinds of training, but he was gay and possibly trans. He likes to dress up in drag, so he was wearing women's underwear when he was on all his patrols and whatnot. And when he gets back, he ends up going to a gay bar and befriending the people in the gay bar and becoming a drag queen. But the mafia is out to shut down the gay bar and take it over because the owner owns money or something. So he goes on a tear as Angie, his alter ego, drag queen, and fights the mafia. Right? Now, you might say, oh, that sounds very inclusive. It's not. It's just a story. It's just funny. Because it's a drag queen and it's combined with a vigilante thing. That's it. Is it inclusive? That word doesn't mean anything. You're caught up in representation and inclusion and equity and all that crap. It doesn't mean anything. The only thing that's important is that you pitch a good story. If you pitch the story and they make it and it's good and everybody enjoys it, great. That's it. That's the only metric. If you pitch a good story and then they say, well, there's not enough people of a certain color and there's not enough people of a certain sexual orientation, and then you change all that and it ruins the story, you've failed. You've failed. It doesn't matter that it's inclusive. Now, you may be able to do that and keep a good story. It's possible, but not probable, because these are immutable characteristics, and when you're writing a damn thing, you usually consider that beforehand. So, if you look at Voyage of the Demeter, which looked like a great trailer, looked like a great pitch, but one of the problems was, in my view, they made one of the characters black, and they made him a doctor in the, I guess it's the late 1800s. It doesn't jibe with history. That was a huge failing of that movie. It just didn't make any sense historically. And when you fly in the face of reality, you undermine the story. It doesn't matter that, well, they all die in the boat wreck. It's possible it could happen. No, it was very improbable that a doctor would be black in that time period, and English. This is a fantasy propagated by people who want to literally rewrite history. And it doesn't make any sense. And the movie didn't do well. So, and that's part of the reason. You could argue against it all you want, but it's part of the reason. Rick Sanchez. Fury versus Francais. Which do you think? I don't know who they are. Who are you talking about? Fury versus Francis? I don't know. Tell me, explain yourself, Rick Sanchez. Kite. There should be no representation as such, simply just the best actor for the job. Exactly. If you write in a black gay, etc. character without it feeling forced, nobody cares. Exactly. Like if you're doing a crying game, yeah, there's going to be gay people in it. I mean, that's the point of the movie. But if you're writing a movie about the Wild West, chances are you probably don't want to put a lot of gay guys in it. There might be room for one. I don't know. Maybe you do a gay western. If it's a comedy, probably could make it work. But, you know, they're just... representation is not everything. It's not anything. It's just weird racial and sexual orientation counting done by studios and people who are grifting. That's all it's for. It's so that various organizations can go to the studio and say, give us money or we'll shut down your production, or we'll call you racist, or we'll call you phobic, and we'll call you all these names, and your movie will do terrible, and ha ha ha, give us money. That's all it is. Rick Sanchez, sounds like a Dahmer Phil bit. Kite, if you go back and change things, you bring eyes on whatever community you change to. It's designed to cause the problems leftists claim to exist, but are disproven with statistics. Exactly. So when you go back, so it's like they announced the live action version of a Disney cartoon, Milo and Stitch, right? And they picked two actors, but they weren't indigenous enough for the woke tards online. And then they started attacking the movie. So these people cannot be satisfied. They just want to scream about race and gender all day long. They should be ignored. You should ignore them. Their problems are stupid. Their worries are pointless. If they want to make a movie full of representation, they're free to do so. The studios aren't obligated to make anything unless millions and millions of people want to see it and it's worth money. The people, the woke tards who push this, the Marxists, convinced the studios that there would be money in it. That's the only reason they're in it. And because of ESG, there's money in that. That's the only reason they're in it. That's it. Money. They don't care about when these companies put rainbow flags on everything every June. They don't care about representation. They don't care about gay people. They're doing it because they think they can make more money. But that is coming to an end. And when the pushback happens, and it's starting to happen, they'll never do it. Because it'll be the opposite problem then. It'll be like, oh, no, we lose so much money doing that. They'll look at Bud Light, they'll look at other boycotts, and they'll say, yeah, we're not going to do that anymore. And then you'll have no representation. And then even when you pitch a good idea, they'll be like, nah, we're getting away from that. But that's what the leftists did. And they'll have to suck that up for many years. For many years, it will go back the other way. For a good 20 years. And then it'll go too far, and then it'll push back. This is the cycle. So, prepare for the pushback. Rick Sanchez, I wonder who actually wrote something similar to Westworld. I don't know. What I do know is I didn't like Westworld, the TV show. I love the movie. It's a great movie. Great movie with Richard Benjamin and Yul Brynner. Has a sequence that goes on for like 40 minutes with no dialogue. It's fantastic. But it shouldn't have been made into a TV show. It just doesn't work. In my view. Rick Sanchez. Oh, no, I read that one. No, we already covered that. Talked about that. Oh, they talked about Blade this week. The Marvel exec behind Blade reportedly fired because he didn't sound the alarm on the film's abysmal direction. It's one of the few times that anyone has actually heard Kevin Feige yell at someone. Yeah, this is how bad Blade got. He was like fourth tier in his own movie. They were going to replace him with a girl. He was barely going to be in the damn thing. He was going to be like, it was going to be like Team Blade, where Blade sort of comes in later. I mean, it would have been a freaking disaster. Bigger disaster than the Marvels, I would argue, because at least with the Marvels, you don't have much to compare it to. So it could be good. I mean, I could have wrote a decent The Marvels movie, I guess, if they let me write it and not, browbeat me into like putting a bunch of woke crap in it. But Blade, oh, you got 3, 4 movies to compare it to, and at least 2 of them are awesome. So forget it. What they should have done with Blade is simple. They should have made a Blade movie with Wesley Snipes. I still think he can pull it off. He's got all kinds of armor on. You can muscle him up in CGI. He's a vampire. He lives forever. No, he doesn't live forever. He's a day walker. He's a half vampire, whatever. But it would have been great to bring back Wesley, even for 3 movies. I think he could do it. Shoot it all at once. He's not that old. How old is he? We'll find out right now. Wesley Snipes is how old? 1962. So he is 4 years older than me. So he's 60, 61. I think he can do it. Kite. LOL woke Blade. 4th tier to 3 women with less than 25% screen time as a good actor. Mustafa Ali can be. I'll stick with the original. Yeah. In his 60s. Thank you. Yep. I still think he could do it. Even if he can't, you can rewrite the movie in a way that it'll work. Fans just want to see him. I mean, there was a great thing that was going around Twitter about Solo at the time, and that was, would anyone care if they just cast Harrison Ford as young Solo and let us all pretend he was young? And I thought, yeah, I'd watch that. I'd watch that, right? Same thing with Indiana Jones, but he's just way too old. And now I don't know what went wrong with Harrison Ford. On some days I speculate that they must have some kind of terrible pictures of him, but who knows? All right, moving on. We're almost at the 2-hour mark. I think I have to wrap soonish. Rick Sanchez, Blade teams up with Constantine. That would be fun. Unlikely, since Constantine is DC and Blade is Marvel, but they already... Unfortunately, Marvel... Part of Disney's problem is they don't have all the rights to the Hulks. They definitely don't have the rights to Spider-Man, and or all of them, and they don't have part of the rights to Namor, believe it or not. Or Namor, as they called him. David Fincher calls for Hollywood to get back to work very soon. I guess so, because you work in Hollywood. I'd be calling for it too. The Beatles dropped a new song this week. It's alright. It's late Beatles. It's not great. I love the Beatles, but it's a little slow for me. This is Hollywood Reporter. That's about it, really. Barbara Streisand didn't want to write about past relationships in new memoir. Who the hell would want to read it then? Who the hell would want to read it anyway? This was good news. Highlander remake to use Queen songs from the original movie. That'll be cool. I say that Christopher Lambert should play the Sean Connery role. That would be fun. I mean, he'd be just as Spanish as Sean Connery. I mean, he's actually closer to Spanish. I think he's from Belgium. It's kind of almost... It's not Spanish, but it's closer to Spanish than Scottish. Dolly Parton calls out cancel culture. God can forgive, so we should forgive one another. Well, that's nice. Dolly still looks pretty good for her age, I think. She's always been a nice person. Everybody says nice things about her. Deadline. Footage of October 7th Hamas terror attack and massacre to be shown in Hollywood and New York this week. Ugh. I don't know if I want to see that. Sounds sad. Danny DeVito says Twins 2 is off the table, but Throw Mama from the Train sequel may not be. Interesting. I saw Throw Mama from the Train. It was pretty good. It's kind of a parody of, oh God, the famous Hitchcock movie, Strangers on a Train. And it was pretty funny. I don't know, a sequel? I wouldn't mind seeing Billy Crystal return in a really good comedy. He hasn't been in a good comedy in a while. Rick Sanchez says, it's been a pleasure, Tony. Final thoughts on May, December? I'm trying to remember the trailer. Gosh, it's been a while since I looked at it. I don't think I liked it. But did you work on that movie? Is that why you're asking me about it? Let me remind myself what the hell it even was. Rick Sanchez, final thoughts on Kevin Spacey. Kevin Spacey, I can't believe he still has a career. Oh, May, December has Natalie Portman in it? Yeah, that's why I hate it. I can't stand Natalie Portman. Julianne Moore. Is that who it is? Right? It's Julianne Moore, I think that is. That's her, right? Yeah. She's okay. I like her. But, what the hell was this movie about? 20 years, their notorious tabloid romance gripped the nation. Married couple buckles under pressure when an actress arrives to do research. Yeah, it doesn't look good. Yeah, I can't believe Kevin Spacey has a career. I just can't get over that he survived all the trials. He seems like they cut him loose. I can't believe he hasn't been sued successfully. I mean, he's got to be connected. Don't mess with Kevin Spacey, I would say. And you'd think he'd just retire. Like, that's what I said about Bill Cosby. Like, why wouldn't you just retire before you end up in court? But, what's Cosmic Book News? Yeah, see, Echo powers are lame, says director. Representation extremely important. I mean, it's pathetic. Pathetic. Gina Carano drops truth bomb. Studios manipulating fans. Yeah, they always try to. Whether or not they're successful is another thing. The Wrap has nothing really. Stuff about YouTube and the strike talks ending on Saturday. Yeah, it's strike. I don't think is going to end, but who knows? Kite. She's all right actress, but suffers from typical Hollywood syndrome. Would be better if she stayed quiet. Yeah, they kind of all would be. That was the mode. Like in the 70s and 80s, these actors never would talk about politics. You wouldn't even ask them. Rick Sanchez. It's very Lolita-ish. Which one? What are we talking about? Very Lolita-ish. I don't even remember. The Echo thing? I just thought it was just bad. I mean, the trailer looks okay, but, you know. They just jam way too much representation in Echo. Like, Echo would have been perfectly functional if it was like a kid who was a New Yorker brought up by a gangster. Like, you could see that. Instead, she's like an indigenous woman who had a baby out in the woods at one point. That's like in the trailer too. And she's got one leg and she's deaf, but she has superpowers. It's like, come on. What are you going to cram in next? It's just like, you got to make pitches have to be simple for a reason. You want audiences, you want to be able to tell somebody the TV show like that. You know, what's The Fall Guy about? Oh, it's about a stuntman who solves mysteries. One sentence. And then you can make up your mind whether you want to see The Fall Guy or not. What's Echo about? Well, it's about an indigenous woman with one leg, and she's deaf, and she has superpowers, and she's raised by a gangster in New York. Like halfway through that sentence, you're like, what? Storebank. Twitter appears to be coming out with an original sci-fi movie. Twitter? What is it called? Oh, you're talking about this? Yeah, that's what it feels like. Made by old Twitter. New Twitter's kind of not that bad. It got really good for a minute, and then it kind of slipped back, and now it kind of got better today because they let back Tommy Robinson and another person who was banned off of Twitter. So, baby steps to freedom of speech. But, yeah. Echo is a TV show, by the way. But the only thing that raises the bar in this entire Echo thing is Vincent D'Onofrio's in it. And he's a really good Kingpin, and he's a really good actor, but... Rick Sanchez. Bruce Willis plays Christopher Reeves in a Stephen Hawking film. Poor Bruce Willis. He's a South Jersey guy, and I feel bad. I've heard nothing but mostly good stories about Bruce Willis. Back in the day when he was super famous, there were a few stories of him going wild, but mostly it was a good guy. Good guy. I think I just got buzzed. All right, I'm going to wrap it here. Final thoughts, and any suggestions for next week are always welcome. What am I doing? Next weekend, I have an event on Saturday and Sunday. I'll be doing a book signing at, can't even pronounce the name. I gotta look at it to say it. Oh, that's a webcomic factory. I'm going to L'Ouverture Books from 1 to 3 in Pleasantville, New Jersey. L'Ouverture. Very fancy. And then on Sunday, I'm doing the Greenwich Artisans Fair and Marketplace. It's actually 2 days, but since I booked L'Ouverture, I have to do that. And so I'm going to miss Saturday, but I'll be there on Sunday. And I think the live stream will be on time. It should be fine. Kite. Celebrity, even in the 90s, was a different beast. They were interesting mythical creatures because you couldn't know much about them. Now they are puppets in the shape of clowns with money. Yeah. Bruce Willis doing podcasts back in the 90s would have been a disaster because he was partying his A off, as most guys with his kind of money did. He had a huge success, and he just had tons of money. I don't blame him from partying. But yeah, it's like their mystique is gone because they just do too much social media. There's an art to it. You gotta you drop a truth bomb once in a while, but you gotta know what you're talking about, man. These guys don't know what they're talking about. It's very true what Ricky Gervais said. A lot of these people didn't finish high school. And there's nothing wrong with that. High school is a joke. But they hustled their way, and they made a great career for themselves. But they can't be everything to everyone. And thinking you know world politics just because you know how to cut high school and then turn yourself into a celebrity, part of it's just luck. I mean, part of it's just getting cast in the right things. There are plenty of people who did that and hustle, but they didn't make it as actors. They ended up in some other business. They're probably hustling there. But I mean, I knew a guy, he got a GED, and then out of high school he started this weird business where people would go to roller coasters. It's like a thing people do. They go to every roller coaster in the United States. And he created some sort of system where you would get like a card, and then you would get stickers for the card to prove that you were on the roller coaster. And he made a bundle doing it. Now, I don't know. This was like before the internet. And, he knew money. He didn't finish high school, but he knew a good idea when he, could pitch it. And he hustled, and he made money, and he had a family and a wife and a nice place. I mean, if you know how to hustle, you can make money. I hustle, but I'm terrible at making money. But That's not my deal. But the guys who know how to make money, they make money. Actors, some of them hustled and it really paid off, and good for them. I don't begrudge it, but if you're gonna try to do, like Robert De Niro should have shut his mouth. It's just too much now. He's just a cranky old man. And it's also read the room after a while. Like, okay, you made some bad political take, and it doesn't do well, and you get creamed on social media. At that point, realize, oh God, I screwed up. Let me back off and then come at it at a different angle. Don't keep doubling down. Don't keep doubling down. Like Rachel Zegler, I wish I was her friend. I would say, Rachel, what are you going to do? Are you going to argue with everybody on the internet? They're never going to admit they're wrong. They don't have to. You just have to shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Stop. Why won't you shut up? Like, she has to shut up. She should have never opened her mouth. She's too young. She doesn't know what she's saying, in my view. And, people already resent her because she's young, hot, and rich. So people kind of just already hate her because they want to be her. At least the women do, right? So it's like, and guys would love to bang her. But now they don't. Even I would be like, you know what? Nah. You know what? You seem nice, but no. Thank you. No. So yeah. Anyhow, that's my rant on celebrities. And that's me for the week. Thanks for tuning in. I want to thank everybody who tuned in. Kite, of course, who always shows up. JEC, Storebang, our new people here, Rick Sanchez, Perp Minded. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody. You guys all tuned in. Clint, of course, who started the thing. Thank you all for tuning in. Kite, why can't I get a good guy? You talk. LOL. Clint, sorry I didn't pay undivided attention to tonight's show. I was reading. Oh, no worries, Clint. You were probably reading the Pineys, book 13, because you made some great references in the beginning, and I highly appreciate them. All right, I gotta answer this phone call. I'm getting buzzed. We'll see ya. Oh wait, it's wrong screen. We'll see ya in the next one.